Last time on Yourgeekfix, we built this surprisingly big and very heavy Mark III helmet, read Volume 1, and reviewed the Fanhome service. Now join us as we open Volume 2 and build this light up and articulating foot. But first, this is Yourgeekfix. Now if you didn't see the first video, you should really check it out. We opened the first box and built this huge and heavy Iron Man Mark III helmet that lights up, which is very cool. And we read through Volume 1. We also talked about Fanhome and its service, and even reviewed its customer support. Now, I'm a big believer in being an informed consumer. I mean, like in-depth research. Before Fanhome contacted me, I was already doing research on their products, including the Iron Man and the R2-D2. I was talking to others about their experiences, and I was looking at consumer feedback online. And I contacted several of them to get more information about their feedback, to learn a little bit more about their complaint. And I found some common themes that I thought were good to know in order to make your purchasing experience a more positive one. The first was related to the discounts. I mentioned in the first video that you could get the first stage for $1. Typically the first shipment contains the first 2 stages or volumes, and it's about $1.99 for stage 1, and then the second stage is $6.50, and that's with no tax and free shipping. Now at the same time, keep in mind that the first and second stages come together in the same shipment, so you're paying both of those costs together. The second shipment contains 4 stages, with the first 2 at $6.50 a stage and the second 2 at $12.99 a stage. That also has tax and about $2.40 in shipping. After that, all the other shipments are $12.99 with shipping and handling, and each one comes with 4 assembly stages plus the magazines and the parts. Now all this information plus anything about the figures themselves is located on the web page, but at the same time a lot of people misunderstood and thought that the 2 stages were charged separately, and a lot of them admitted that they plan to only get the head for $1 and then cancel their subscription thereafter. So they were surprised when they got more shipments or when they got billed after that. Now you can cancel at any time, but if the shipment is already in process or you've received the shipment already, you're still going to be billed for that one. They also have a requirement of 28 days of advance notice. However, you can also return packages if you're not satisfied, as long as they're still sealed and the shrink wrap is in place. Now for people that received defective or broken parts, they were able to contact Fanhome and found that they did get replacement parts pretty easily and fairly fast. I talked to a couple of YouTubers that had this experience. They thought that the part that they had ordered was wrong when they were trying to put it together, and then they ordered another part, or Fanhome sent them another replacement part, only to find out that they were the same and that it was meant to be that way. It actually worked afterwards. So in the end, the parts that they had weren't even broken or defective. They just thought they were. I had actually a similar experience with the helmet when I was putting it together. There's a part here in the jaw area that when I was putting the bottom piece and the top piece of the helmet together, I thought it was bent or wasn't fitting right. But that's how it's supposed to look. so luckily I did hang in there, and so I do recommend if you run into that problem, read the instructions or verify that the parts don't work. Speaking of defective parts, I also saw a lot of comments about electronics, and when I got to talk to some of these different individuals, they did share with me that it wasn't so much that the part arrived that way or that they felt that it was already broken. The issue was that they had storage issues. This was particularly true related to models like the R2-D2, where you have to keep track of some electronic parts that are partially assembled, and the problem with that is if you don't do a good job of organizing things, they can get pulled or they can get smashed or things like that. And this is a 2-year period. So you want to have a really good method for storing your parts. And as I did show in the first Iron Man video, these cases actually do a pretty good job of that, at least so far I'm feeling. And so that's one way that you could do it. You could also keep the boxes and store them in there, but I definitely wouldn't recommend leaving them loose. I also heard problems with people who had good intentions, screwed some things together earlier than they were supposed to, and ended out having parts that ended up getting ruined because of that. And this brings me to one of the things that I like the most about this particular model for the Mark III, is that as we're going along, we're able to actually complete pieces so far. So I've completed the head, today. We'll also be able to make the foot, and everything's going to be self-contained. It's going to be less likely to get ruined or hurt than if it was even in the full model. The last theme that I saw had to do with distribution. Fanhome has been in the UK for some time now. They also have some other locations in Europe, and more recently they have released these models here in the United States, and so that's why I've had the opportunity to be able to review them. But some enthusiastic fans have tried to purchase them inside of regions or countries where it's more difficult to be able to get their packages, or where they aren't supposed to be servicing them. They had difficulties with being able to receive the actual items. So I'd say be aware of some of those limitations. So with Volume 1 complete, we're now ready to dig into Volume 2, which covers Iron Man's first adventures and the Superhuman Registration Act. And then helps us to build what looks like is the foot. I think it's the left foot. So I'm going to move this over here, and I'm going to move my head over here. Wow. Did you hear that? Look at that. Is heavy. I mean, that is hardcore. So awesome. And this one also comes with a card of our parts for the foot. Wow, look at how big the foot must be. I mean, again, this is so huge compared to my other figures. I'm going to go ahead and tear off the back of it right off the bat. And again, we have these 2 layers of plastic, so if I flip this over and lift off the top, I now have a nice organized way of holding all this. Get out my screwdriver. Again, we're going to need this screwdriver for the rest of this 2-year build. So that means I'm going to need to hold on to this. Not that you can't use another screwdriver, but I mean, if it comes with it, come on. So in this issue, again, on the first page, the back of the first page, they have everything that you need in order to be able to contact them, and gets into the original story behind how Tony Stark becomes Iron Man, and of course the Mark I right there. A lot of the scenes in this are actually taken out of the original comics, which were called the Tales of Suspense, that it was taken out of, mixed in with some of the more modern versions of the intro, as well as even getting into the movie itself. So very cool, and gives tons of information. Again, I feel like I don't want to give you too much. In the case that you buy this, really you don't want to miss out on being able to review this information, get into it in depth. And right after that, we're already into the build. So just a few pages in this time, and there's a lot that's behind the build. So you read a little bit, then you build a little bit, and then you kind of finish up reading a little bit more as you admire your work. So looks like this one has also all my parts laid out. But one of the benefits of being able to build in small amounts like this is that you're not organizing tons of pieces. You're not having to keep track of a lot. But again, the way that a lot of the Fanhome models work, some of these pieces that you're sending you are actually for later on. So if you don't hold on to them and keep them organized, you could end up getting in a bad place later on. So for that reason, I am keeping them instead of these plastic holders. Now, the first piece it looks like that we're actually starting with on this occasion is this piece of the foot that's over here. So we take this first piece, which is the ankle piece, and we slide it into the foot with a big circle on the outside, just like that. And then I'm going to fix the ankle joint cover 2L into place with the M screws. Oh. Did they give me new EM screws, or are we doing... I have to pull them out of my other package. Let's see. Oh, nope, there are new EM screws. So I'm wondering, maybe I don't need those extra screws from our last build. Maybe they actually gave me extra screws. I hope, or else I left some screws out of the last part that we built. So my EM screws I'm going to put right here. And then I also need the 2L piece, which looks like this right here. So I'm going to be putting that down on top of that and screwing in my screws. So I wonder if how tightly you put this on determines how much that ankle is going to be moving around. So, and not sliding around too much. So, okay, there you go. As you can see now, yeah, see, because I did it nice and tight, I can actually push it exactly where I want that ankle. So I don't have to worry about it flying around. Now, we're already to the LED piece, which is pretty cool. Again, like the last model, I gotta untangle some things just to make sure I'm not too messed up. And I also want to be careful, so I don't want to unmount anything. So, there's that. I'm going to push the switch onto 2J into the small compartment at the top of 2A as shown. Okay, look, the actual switch itself. I think that what we're talking is going like this. So, and there it is, sticking out the top. Interesting. Fix the battery box in position with an AM screw. Here's AM screw, or MA if you have it turned around the wrong way, like I did. These are transparent bags. Okay. Place the screen 2D inside the hill 2C. So this is the screen right here, and the hill right here. Okay, so I'm going to be placing the screen inside the hill like that, and then I'm going to be taking this piece and I'm going to be laying this across here and connecting that with some AM screws again. So 2 of them this time. There's also a little board that's in here that I kind of thought I'd be affixing to something, but it looks like that just hangs freely. So I'm going to try and tuck that in, at least where it won't be touching a lot of other things. And then I'm taking the LED that's right here, and I'm going to pop it through this hole right here. Next, we're going to push the hill onto the foot. I want to be really careful though that I don't cut any of my wires as I'm doing so. And then I'm going to use 2 AM screws. Here goes everything. Hopefully I don't cut the wires. I wish I could just test it right now. I could test it right now, I think. So there it is. There's the foot so far. Okay, now we turn the page. This next part's kind of confusing. So I'm going to be taking these red toe joints and I'm going to be putting them into these little holes on the side of the foot and hold them in place while I also slide on the toe and do that right over them. And then I'm going to take 2 CM screws and screw them into the joint, which I'm surprised about. I thought there would be a post or something like that, but basically it's just being held down by those plastic pieces that are inside, and so that helps it to be able to move back and forth without it locking up. I also did it pretty tight, and it looks like it holds really well. So nice and stiff. Next, I'm going to take these 2 little metal pieces right here and stick them onto the sides to cover up our screw holes and add some detail. Now we're going to take the bottom part of that toe and we're going to stick it on using 2 AM screws. And now we're ready again to stick a battery into the top. This time we want the positive side going on the left and the negative on the right. Then we're going to place the battery top on using an EP screw. Don't go too far, like I just did. This last piece actually connects just with a magnet, so I just have to lay it on top of it. And that covers up my button and the battery case. So that's really cool, really easy to access. And when you do open it up, you can just push the button and it lights up. So So as you can see, it's nicely lit up again. Really nice lighting in it. Luckily, I didn't cut any of the wires, that means, hopefully. And this has great articulation and looks really, really super nice. So in the end though, I have batteries that are left over, as well as a bunch of screws, which I'm going to put back into their packs, because who knows if we're going to need those again later on. Hopefully they're just extras. There's quite a few of one of the screws left, so I'm worried that we're going to need them again. So again, I got my plastic container to be able to hold all my parts, including my screwdriver and my batteries, and the head, the foot I'm going to just keep on the outside, I guess. The second half of the magazine covers the Superhuman Registration Act, Heroes in Conflict. This gets into the information behind the Civil War and conflict between the superheroes, even gets into some of the information that the new Spider-Man's going to be covering. And then on the next page we have the Model 1, which is the beginning of it all. It also shows the difficulty of putting on the original outfit. This must have been pre-gantry days. And then on the back we see the comic book that this came from, which was, as I said earlier, the Tales of Suspense. And then down below we have the next issue, which includes assembling Iron Man's right hand and talks about the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. So in summary, is it worth it? My answer would be, at this point, it sure seems like it. I mean, everything that I've seen so far is really high quality. I like the way that it's put together. I like all the details, the paint job, and their ability to make the plastic really blend in well with the metal, so that it's hard to tell until you actually pick it up which pieces are plastic. I also know from what I've looked ahead on and from today, the pieces that are plastic are kind of necessary because they need to be light enough to be magnetized, and at the same time also work for being able to create hinges or joints without having to use some type of lubricant. So that's pretty good. I like the way that they hit their lights better than some of my other models and figures. It's really easy to access those lights, turn them on and off, and at the same time there's no indication that those switches are there. And when they light up really well. They have a nice effect to them. They're nice and heavy. I can't imagine how much this is going to weigh. I mean, just this by itself is pretty heavy. I can't imagine what it's going to weigh when it's 24 inches, which is this long right here. So something that would be this long or that tall is what we're talking about. That's pretty big. As far as the cost, it is expensive, but at the same time, I got to compare it to other models of its type, especially metal. Actually, that makes it even harder, because most of the models that I can think of, or most of the figures that I can think of that are this big, would be made of plastic. And when you consider, I mean, for most of my other figures, just a 1/6 scale plastic figure is somewhere between $500 and $700. So when you consider it like that, this is not unreasonable. It seems like a good price, plus you're getting some other things, and you're paying more for the experience. But be really aware. Go through and read information before you make a purchase. I want to thank Fanhome for providing us with this model to be able to review, but they also gave us a promo code. So if you're interested in purchasing this, use the code Tony Stark. Also, I'll continue to review these as they come out. So if you can't get it, you can also experience this by proxy. So join us next time as we open volumes 3 through 6 and build Iron Man's right hand and the arc reactor. You don't want to miss this one, so hit that reminder bell so you know when the next video comes out, as well as the R2-D2 build. In the meantime, like, subscribe, comment below. This is your Geek Fix.